What's going on, Tribe Vibe Network? Woo! This is Richard Maxwell. Some call me the Tribe Chief. And we are out here on a beautiful Monday evening in beautiful Ohio. What's going on? This is my second stream today. So if you were here earlier, appreciate you. We are going to go ahead and start with a quick prayer. Get ourselves aligned, get ourselves grounded, and just kind of set the intentions for the stream. What's going on, S. Antros? How you doing? Good to see you. How you doing? We're going to say a quick prayer just to set ourselves, set the intentions, and then we're going to move forward into the stream. Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for all the opportunities, trials, and tribulations, and the strength and courage to move forward. Thank you for giving us the guidance and wisdom to be able to better ourselves. Thank you for constantly being in a situation to evolve. Thank you for the responsibilities that are given to me. I pray that I'm able to live up to them and do right by you. I pray that I'm able to diminish myself so that you can be more greatly seen. And I pray that my words and my actions are lead to a better outcome in your name and in your light and in your vision. And I just pray that you continue blessing the road in front of us as you bless the one that we leave behind. In your holy name and by your son Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. So what is going on, everybody? Nice to see you, S. Santros. I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I apologize. We are live again. We went live earlier and we were working on some stuff. We were working on expanding our website and getting that ready for launch. We were working on the plate date, the dinner date app that we want to get up on said website. We are currently building a database. We are doing all of this using our magical assistant AI friend here, Mr. Claude. And we are, doing the darn thing. So Claude gave me all this database, which, is essentially the information I need. It didn't come out formatted correctly, but what we are doing now is using old templates and old schoolwork to go ahead and fix that up to make it workable for us. And we are going, and you guys can't see what I'm looking at right now, and that's on me. But Claude gave us all this to build a database with for our dinner date app, which is great. And now we are using an old, well-formatted database SQL script that we made during our time at Cincinnati State under Bob Niels and Tommy Garland. We are going to live up to the standards and read and get that to a format that we know how to manipulate and use for now. And we will probably move forward into that. Some other things that we have going on. I know you saw Mr. Hasan Piker peek onto screen here. He is going over something about the economy is completely broken. Just saw the headline. Not really sure what entirely he's talking about. But we're going to go ahead and dive in and see what he's talking about because it's probably going to be relevant. We're probably going to make some good points. We're probably going to be able to talk about Tribe Vibe based off his conversations. And then the other thing that we have on board for today is we are going to watch World War II in color, going over the war push by Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany. Last time we did a philosophy history stream, we talked about how Britain's end of capitalism pattern had approached, and they failed to use influence in the League of Nations or be able to put economic sanctions onto Germany to slow them down. So it kind of gave Hitler free play in Eastern Europe. So we are going to go ahead and look at that, and we are going to watch that continue on. We were drawing comparisons from how Britain didn't have any play in the League of Nations and wasn't able to get anything accomplished. And we were kind of comparing that to how America has similar things going on. We're kind of failing to broker peace. We literally pulled out of U.S. aid. We stopped using our soft power across the globe and kind of just turned into, even more terrorists with the bombings of Venezuela and how we're using ICE. And not to say that we have also talked about how fascism is growing in America. We watched some Robert Reich on the last video. But like I said, too, and I don't think this documentary is going to get into it, but America had almost gone fascist before in that time of World War II. and the people were able to rally and reject it. We might be past that point, but that doesn't mean we can't write our own story and rally and like end it early before it gets even uglier than it has to. So we're just looking at some things that are currently going on, and we're trying to connect to the patterns of history and trying to see what outcomes kind of get led to when we go down certain roads. Mixed in of all that, we'll be doing some work on some of these projects that we have going on here. I'll probably be working on these as well. We listened to the Hasan video, then when we dive into World War II, I'll probably jump in a little bit more. But yeah, some other life recaps. We did start working out. We had a really good workout on what would be Saturday. But that got my foot up to like, not a 10, but like a 6 or a 7, and it definitely concerned me, so we've been taking some time off. I'm probably gonna do a light workout tonight just to stay in the routine of everything. But yeah, we're getting that going, and we've been posting a lot more. That's the other thing on IG and on IG and on YouTube. Our clips have been doing pretty well. Especially from going from 0 to where we're at, we can't ask for more than what we can handle. It's one of these things. This one.
What's the mission of that merge? To make people buy more things?
That was when I was talking to you at Sarantos. But yeah, we are 80 subscribers. We gained 2 in the last day. That's like flickering. 317, 190, 74. We're flooding the zone. 320 views in the past 28 days. That's really in the past like 48 hours, if that. So I'm thankful to all those that are able to catch a clip and staying engaged. Send a like, hit a subscribe, do all those fun things if you feel inclined. Either way, we're going to keep on pushing out here. Let me go ahead and change what we're doing here. Spell American. So yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and get this video started, and then while we do that, we're going to work on probably this database. Here, let's go.
Oxfam, 10 U.S. billionaires have had their wealth increase 6-fold since 2020. No, I know. It's just like capitalism creates this incredible consolidation of wealth. And basically the number of winners gets smaller and smaller every fucking year. Because that's just how the system is designed. And eventually it's just going to be like one guy who is the quintrillionaire, and even the other billionaires are like, we don't have enough money, we're suffering.
If that's what we're all cool with just doing, we're just going to go in that direction. That's great.
Around 70% of the U.S. economy depends on consumer spending. As wealth concentrates in the richest 10%, the rest of America can't afford to buy enough to keep the economy running. And even within the top 10% of wealth, the wealth consolidation still continues. Ironically enough, in the top 10% of wealth, they are the people, myself included obviously in this bracket, are living highfalutin, fancy lifestyles, okay? At a time when there is like tremendous pain and tremendous struggle for regular ass working class people, okay? But even within the top 10% of wealth, even there is a tremendous amount of wealth consolidation happening there as well for the top 1% in the top 10% of wealth. It is insane. That's why you see articles that are brain breaking. I saw something about like a woman who left her Google job where she was making $369,000 a year, and how she was able to secure $1.5 million in retirement funds to be able to retire early. And it's like, really? This is what we're talking about? Oh yeah, just get a Google job for $369,000 a year. So you can actually retire. It's that easy. It's
that simple. There's so many of them.
Meanwhile,
there's not only
you got
5
people that are working, 10 years on their job with no prospects of getting no prospects of career advancement, and retirement seems
right. The most
impossible.
loyal of employees never get what they need.
It's incredible stuff. Let's see what Robert Reich is saying here. Around 70% of the U.S. economy depends on consumer spending. As wealth concentrates in the richest 10%, the rest of America can't afford to buy enough.
Exactly. That's why you have to take care of your working class people.
America's most powerful. So
this is what we were talking about yesterday. This is why you got to take care of your working class people. Because what is economy? It's the movement of energy in society. It's giving your God-given energy, your consciousness, and your intention over to society and engaging with civilian. And the best case scenario is to make society a little bit better. Money and monetization is you receiving the value of that energy. If we're not valuing the common man's energy and like letting that be monetized, then our economy is sick and no one's getting what they need. Like everything will halt if we're not valuing what is valuable. That's why life is so important. That's why we can't go straight to trying to kill somebody and murder and all these crazy things. Is because we have to understand the worth of a human life. Because what is a human life? It's economy. It's our ecosystem. It's everything. It's consciousness. It's the journey. It's the experience. It's being alive. That is what economy is trying to track and put into numbers. And we have to, when we give our energy to make life a little bit better in any sort of way, we need to receive value back so that we can live and put back into our our economy and show other people their value of goods and services and things they do for us, whether it be just gratitude. We should be able to have enough money in our pocket to be able to give freely to charity to those that we're grateful to throughout the year. It shouldn't be just something that we have to do once a year because bonuses come up. If economies were healthy, and when they were healthy, people were able to do that. You're able to lean on your community more because your community has more influence and value and monetization to help you out. But if we're not monetizing that value, then nobody is getting what they deserve and what they need. So everything falls apart in our ecosystem and gets sick.
CEOs are starting to sound the alarm. Oh yeah, the McDonald's CEO was complaining about this.
The Big Mac has a big problem. According to the CEO of McDonald's, fast food chain saw a double-digit dip in visits from lower and middle-income customers in the first quarter of 2025. The reason? Customers can't afford it.
Holiday spending reached a record sum this year. You are exaggerating a bit. Okay, once again,
a sum, but you didn't get as much stuff.
Who's doing the expenditure? Who's doing the spending? Because that doesn't change what I'm talking about. Again, the top 10% of wealth is responsible for 50% of all consumption in this country now.
That is insane.
The top 10% of wealth. That means the bottom 90%. The bottom 90% is only responsible for half of all consumption in this country.
When we were talking about how New York during the Roaring 20s, they were spending one person's salary for an entry into a party. That's the same thing that's going on here. The top 1% is spending what the 90% are valued at. That value, no one person, energy and time is worth 90% of everybody. That equation doesn't add up. It just is untrue. Life is sacred for everybody, and moving through life is something that us all giving value is what's important. The majority, the amount. Everyone has the same amount. It's God given. It's God didn't give extra valuable energy to somebody else as opposed to you. Other people might be more efficient at monetizing and getting their value out of the economy. That's understandable, but not like this. They're taking other people's value by writing laws and lobbying for certain things to be the certain way so that they get more in their. And not only are they getting more, they're taking from us. like the working class, the common people, the majority.
That's insane.
While the stock market is riding high and the Trump administration is slashing taxes for corporations.
Yeah, spending is up, except items purchased is down. Spending is up, and yet the number of people spending is down. I wonder how that happened. Perhaps inflation might have something to do with it. I don't know.
Nothing is trickling down to everyday Americans.
What we see is it's really kind of a two-tier economy. If you're upper income, earning over $100,000, things are good. What we see with middle and lower income consumers is actually a different story.
This shouldn't be all that surprising. The warning signs were there for anyone paying attention.
We are on the way to becoming a two-tiered society, composed of a few winners and a larger group of Americans left behind.
The other side of the story, of course, is debt. The other side of this story is debt. Because
the shackles
of
today's world.
Holiday spending was financed by using buy now, pay later apps. You got Klarna. You can do advanced payday loans to purchase Domino's in this country, and you're out here being like, "Well, spending is up technically." Okay, so is debt. None of this is good.
So true.
I feel like all of this is alarm bells ringing. I know a lot of chatters have made jokes about how I have not had a I have not had a credit card for most of my life and refused to get it. Okay, but you know, there is a principle behind that too. It's not even like an ethical thing. It's just that I've always had the mentality where it's like the idea that I have to like take on debt specifically so that people can realize that like or institutions can recognize that I'm good with the debt is so stupid. And it's weird because like must be nice. No, I'm talking about when I was broke, dude. What the like this structure is entirely different elsewhere, okay? This structure is entirely different elsewhere, where if you don't have a credit card in the United States of America, you are not a part of the system. You're not a part of the credit scoring system. They punish you for not having a credit card, right? So technically, even if you are spending only as much as you have, okay, without taking on debt, and ironically enough, the appropriate way to do this is by taking on debt, but only as much as you can pay for it, right? But there's no need for that additional middleman there. There's no, like, there should be, Hasan, you were not broke? Okay. No, I was. I know that a lot of people say that that's not the case, but I absolutely was.
But he's right about the credit system. It's like a way of shackles. Like, there's a whole generation, like the Great Depression generation, they were like against credit. They thought it shouldn't be allowed to like become as popular and easy to access as it did. And like that's 100% like due to the fact that they saw what they were doing. Like you get like the Fed is already adding interest to the banks when they are giving out cash. So when you build credit systems where they'll loan you money and you pay back interest, like it's locking you in to like a cycle and like money costing more. Like in no way, shape, or form should anything ever cost more. And like, you know, I'm gonna be honest, like there's a couple different religions though that don't mess around with interest, and you're not supposed to be messing with interest in any way, shape, or form. And like the same way gambling shouldn't be as big as it is today. There's some things like that are written that, you know, like we were saying earlier, you shouldn't be like, you know, using the Bible or anything to like make a point to like govern people, right? However, there are like, you know, you read stuff like, you know, all debt should be forgiven after 7 years no matter what. Like that's in the Bible. And you hear that and it's like there's a reason for that. There's like true reason, because you're not even like coming after the same person after so long. The same person who made the decision to take on debt isn't the same person after 5, 6, 7 years. Like we all grow, we all evolve, and we all change. Sure, there's like some ways that we are the same, and like, you know, we are us. Like the essence of us will always be with us and always be like a similar like thread. But you know, we grow, we adapt, we change. Like that's just the human experience.
It's so crazy that this is Oh my God. I do not have a billionaire parent, you losers. Okay? Oh my Lord. It's so funny because all of this is straight up on camera. Okay?
He documented his
I
journey.
know, but you still were not.
He showed when he was in the basement.
I got money back from the American government my first year of employment. Okay? I don't know why people think that they know better than myself about my actual existence, my living circumstances. I lived in the kitchen of a frat house the first year I lived here. Even at the point where I was on Twitch, I was making 60 grand a year, which is literally nothing for Los Angeles, okay? With 3 roommates. Anyway, none of this actually matters. People think you're saying you grew up poor. No, I didn't grow up poor. I never said I grew up poor. I grew up very affluent. I'm talking about the period of my life when I was in college, or post-college rather. In any case, at that point, simply because your parents had money, people will say you couldn't have been broke regardless of whether you had access to it all the time. No, but my parents also no longer had money by the time I got to college. So it's wrong. It's something that I've talked about quite a bit.
I mean, we shouldn't be judging one another. We all have our own journeys. We all have our blessings.
Ay, ay, ay.
It doesn't matter. Depends on what matters. What you do about it.
Regardless,
what you do with
I don't
it.
know why we're talking about this. It's so stupid. Yeah, there's like clips that you can find from back then.
Just like getting this chicken out of the little container. And unfortunately, a lot of people use like organic chicken and whatnot. I use whatever kind of chicken I can get because I'm not very wealthy. So that's part of the reason. This is like a very...
No, but I'll have you know, I was actually lying. I was faking it. I was actually a billionaire at this point, but I just chose to...
I chose to struggle.
To lie.
That's how you do a left-wing grift.
With this lie by living with 3 roommates at the time. It was a deep 5-head infiltration move. You know? Lol, that is the kitchen of a rich person? Yeah, exactly.
It's like a very cheap alternative. But it tastes really good, has really good macros, so that's literally why I do it. It's one way I've been able to lose so much weight, and I know so many people ask this all the time, which is why I'm doing this right now. I'm talking about it. So yeah, this is already like a difficult process, guys. To like get this chicken, to free this chicken from its boundaries, while also trying to describe to you the process in which I
Chat is being so annoying today. Holy shit, this is why the community doesn't grow as much. I mean, yeah, that's part of it. Anyway, like all of this stuff is also like readily accessible for people who are wondering. You know, if you wanna see the background of Hasan Piker. But this is when I was like explaining the process of using manager's special chicken. That was what
Amen to that grind.
That's what I did to get high protein. I would eat chicken, but I would go to Ralph's or Pavilions and get manager special chicken, which was like about to expire. Roughly how many years ago was this? This is in like 2018, I think. But wait, why did I even talk about that? Why was I talking about this? How did we get here? Oh, we were talking about
Sorry
about
about that. I think my computer froze there for
ironically
a second.
enough, at my brokest point, I didn't have a credit card at all.
Good. That's the worst time to have a
then
credit
someone
card
said
is when you have no
I was never
cash.
poor.
Credit is fine if you have money and cash flow coming in to keep it paid, but the second you start using a credit card to expand your budget and like spend more than what you have coming in, or like dip into like what could be saved, like credit then becomes like your worst risk, because like, you know, you have interest, so like a $10 step out of the budget is really like an $11 step out of budget, and then you miss a fee or you miss a payment, and that $10 out of budget becomes $50 out of budget, and now you got to take next month you have to take from what you need, what your income is to pay for like groceries, rent, maintenance, whatever may be coming up. Now you got to take what you need for your budget and use it to stop the bleeding. And most people get caught in that, and where the credit keeps always stacking up on them and they can never stop the bleeding to get back caught up and like pace things off. And that's what they call as a credit score. Can you keep up? Do you know what you're doing? And I mean, it's always a trap, because then like you might be getting into it, but people who have money and like, you know, are making, you know, $300,000 from Google, even people who are making 60, 80, 100, 120, 150, 200, $250,000, they're still coming into the same credit trap where they're taking on so much debt and they're taking on so many different bills and monthly responsibilities that their cash flow is like out of budget. Like they miss one thing. If one thing happens, and something's going to happen because it's life, and they start missing one payment that gets tacked with fees, now they're running behind, or they didn't pay taxes properly, they didn't file something properly. Once that bleeding starts, once like you have to take from your what you need in your budget to like keep everything afloat, once you take from that to pay off fees and the bleeding that comes from credit and debt, that's when like everything can like flip like that, and now you have to sell assets off. And if you don't make the right moves and you don't know, like, you know, you're not paying attention to cash flow, and you're, you know, thinking about, oh, I don't want to get rid of my bikes, or like, you know, you start thinking about your feelings and your sentimental and your pride, and you start making financial decisions off that to stop bleeding. Now you can really start like snowballing. And like some people who are making plenty of money and seem they got what they have and things look nice, they can't really afford all their bills. Like, you know, that's why like this housing market stuff. That's why there's so many millions of Americans that, or hundreds of thousands, I'm not really sure what the number is, that when medical debt comes, they go bankrupt and lose their house because they can't afford that bleeding and they can't stop it, and things just fall apart. And that's why like we're not living in a healthy economy flat out. No matter what any stock market says, nothing works unless people have what they need to stop bleeding and get ahead and start real savings. And very few people in our country can do that these days. Unless you're stupid disciplined. That's the other thing. If you have stupid discipline, like, you know how some people are just good at eating what they're supposed to eat, or they're good at like making it to the gym. There's like another wiring and like an intelligence type of like being really good at being on top of your finances and keeping things aligned. And like, shout out to them. It's a learned thing. It's a skill. It's consistency. It's a discipline. But it's also incredibly hard to do in today's economy and like the way we're living in this nation nowadays, and like where wages are and all these things. And most importantly, it shouldn't be that way. Even if you are, the people who are incredibly disciplined should be getting even further than they currently are, because again, that energy they're putting into their economy, the energy that they're putting into societies and civilization, they're not getting that value that they earn and deserve for that interaction. And if they were earning and getting what they deserved, then their discipline would get them even further to being able to retire 10, 12, 20 years earlier than what people are, if people are even able to retire today.
Unless you're literally homeless, which is crazy. Yes, I was not like homeless or anything.
I will say living in a frat house is a step away from being homeless.
And regardless, the process is different.
You still smell like beer either way.
Like the smart way to do it, the adult way to take on debt, which is an absolute necessity in this country. Like, you have to take on debt, but debt that you can pay for.
Even if you need education.
You have to take on debt that you can pay for, right? That's the smart way to do it. Like parents that educate their children on smart finances will tell them, like, you have to get a credit card, but you can only spend however much you can pay at the end of the month. Like, that's the appropriate way to do it.
If you use your credit card as your budget.
Like, there is no middleman like that. There is no need to get a credit card at all, right?
That's crazy.
But unfortunately, the United States of America, if you want to rent a place even, you have to have credit. They check your credit. And
I couldn't rent a car because I didn't have a credit card one time. Like, I had money in my bank account, I had everything I needed, but I didn't have a credit card, so they wouldn't let me, like, take any of their vehicles. That's wild. And like what he's saying, like, you can't have rent if you don't have credit. That's wild. What if I just want to operate in cash? That's like taking away freedom. That, like, when I was going back to that old generation, like they saw it as like stepping in on your independence. They saw it as like treating you as a child and not giving you the respect you deserve as a human adult, with freedoms and like independence.
When they check your credit score goes down. It's insane.
Make that
And
make
I know
sense.
this from my, again, personal experience, because even when I started making a little bit of money on top of my regular salary at the Young Turks, it was like 60 grand by the time I was leaving TYT, I couldn't rent an apartment. I had to, if you guys remember, I talked about it at the time with like Enes. Do you remember Enes Yilmazar, the YouTube realtor guy, who's now like obviously a very famous YouTube realtor guy? Back then, he was just my friend who didn't even have a YouTube channel at the time. This guy, he was just a guy who had done real estate in the past in Los Angeles. He did not have 4.1 million subscribers at all, right? And I actually got help from him and snuck myself into the apartment in 2019, the one bedroom in West Hollywood, because he knew a person that was supposed to be checking the credit scores at the company that owned, like at the developer or the management company that owned the apartment complex, because I didn't have credit. I didn't have any credit. So there was no way for me to actually get an apartment at all. No way for me to actually rent an apartment at all in Los Angeles. It's insane. It's an insane system. Anyway, now Enes is also popping, which is so crazy to think, because I remember giving him, when he was like, oh, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And I was like, oh, you can use my lights. And I gave him my, the light boxes that I had. And he was like filming stuff from his, like living room in his apartment. Anyway, are you still in touch with him? Yeah. I photoshopped my bank statements to get into an apartment in downtown LA. All right.
I said that in 1994. McDonald's had just lost an infamous lawsuit over scalding hot coffee, and I had way more hair. Frankly, it's a little galling to hear the CEO of McDonald's complaining about income inequality, especially because companies like McDonald's are making the problem worse.
It's coming from inside the house.
McDonald's and other Fortune 500 companies like Walmart are famous for underpaying workers. As a result, many workers at these two corporations have to rely on the rest of us to finance government programs like food stamps and Medicaid to make ends meet. Meanwhile, their CEOs are paid roughly 1,000 times more than their typical employee. Big corporations.
And like, for what? Someone try to explain it, man. I can't wait for the day to someone come in here and try to tell me what a CEO does, that their value is 1,000 times the average person's. Like, we are all humans. We are all here. Like, what, they had some education, they went to some Ivy League? Again, I can see it making efficient, but 1,000 times. 1,000 times? 1,000 times. That's ridiculous. Nobody. Maybe 10, 20. Still, that would be a reach for me. But 1,000 times, they're worth 1,000 times. Their hour, an hour of their life, an hour of their time is worth 1,000 times more than yours, or the average worker at their store. Even if it was, be the type of man to carry the responsibility to have all these people looking up to you and following your lead. At least be the type of man to carry the responsibility to, like, take care of them and allow them to have more than their share, so that they can not be on food assistance and that they can still shop at your own store to keep your business going and flowing and doing what it's supposed to be doing. You're underpaying people so bad, undervaluing their time so bad that you are complaining that people aren't spending enough time and money in your stores. You are the problem. Go look in the mirror. You are the reason our economy is failing. That we aren't able to value people's time appropriately. That we can't respect one another. That we can't live in decency. That we're so radicalized because the working class is not being taken care of. They are becoming hopeless and easier to manipulate and more easily to radicalize and do something extreme because they don't think the future is even worth it. They are looking up to you to see what a human life is worth. And they're saying, oh, it's worthless. Because of you and the example the CEO class is setting. That is wild and unacceptable, and no one should be okay with that. They're disrespecting all of your parents, all of your friends, all of the people you know. And if it's not them directly, they're cousins, they're brothers. These are people in our communities. Every community relies on a Walmart or an Amazon or a McDonald's. We all know these people. And I don't care if they're just high school kids. Because they're not. First off, they're not. Full adults with children are working at these stores. And they should be able to make a living. Afford a decent place to live. Food on the table for them and theirs. They shouldn't be forced to beg or live on societal assistance because the CEO is too greedy and wants to pay their shareholders and they're bored. That's so unacceptable.
History of union busting, further reducing the power of...
How do other countries give out auto loans, phone subsidies, etc. Then credit histories make sense for taking on debt? I don't know, but I don't think other countries have that same culture around debt. Like, that's what I was trying to say. I don't... Like, I think they just look at your income. I assume they just probably look at your income and see if you can pay for it.
Their workers to negotiate a living wage.
We don't think that a labor union is necessary.
All unions work at is taking a cut out of my pay.
In addition
Without
to
the
taxpayers subsidizing corporations' low wages, there's a second way they burden the rest of us. Around 70% of the U.S. economy depends on consumer spending. As wealth concentrates in the richest 10%, the rest of America can't afford to buy enough to keep the economy running. Their buying power is dropping because of stagnant wages and inflation. The bottom 90% is already spending as much as they can, and in many cases going into debt to do so. Meanwhile, as the super rich become even richer, they can't possibly buy enough on their own to keep the economy running. We saw this trend before, during the roaring 1920s, when American wealth was concentrated at the top and everyone else had to go into debt to maintain their standard of living. When that debt bubble burst, we got
Hey, GG Red, what's going on, girly?
The so-called two-tiered economy isn't just a moral failing. It's dangerous for all of us. So what can we do about it?
The motion is adopted.
End the trickle-down hoax once and for all. Tax cuts for the wealthy make the rest of us worse off, not better. Fight for unions. Raise the minimum wage. To negotiate a living wage.
We don't think that a labor union is necessary.
All unions work at is taking a cut out of my pay.
In addition to taxpayers subsidizing...
Now we can't organize. And now we can't organize. And we don't, like, fight for ourselves. Like, remember when I said... earlier today on my last stream, I said if any one person ever tells you they have all the answers and just trust them and lean on them, they're going to take care of it. All they're doing is manipulating you. And that's what we did, like, when we broke unions. We listened to, the CEOs, those people that were coming out trying to, like, bust us. That was the one person up top, the CEO, telling everyone, no, just trust us, man. We're gonna take care of you. You know, you'd have more money if it wasn't for those pesky work unions. And instead of, like, being resilient on us and our community, and instead of, like, trusting that we knew what was best for us and that we could take care of ourselves and, like, the people around us and our neighbors, we decided to trust the CEOs. And now we have, since all these labor union things happened, like, since, like, that era of history, like, that's where, like, stagnation really fell off the rhythm, because now we can't go on strike. We can't tell them to eat it. We can't tell them, like, no, we're not going to do this. This is unsafe. We demand more because we feel like we aren't being heard, or we aren't getting our value. We're not getting our worth. We're putting all this energy in. We're making all this profit. We're making all this money. You're paying out all these dividends, but we're not getting our fair share. We can't afford rent. We can't afford these car payments. I had to go take out credit to buy a pizza for my family to eat on Friday night before payday, and now because of that, I got hit with bank fees. And now, before I even get my paycheck, I owe my bank and this middleman credit agency $200 right off the top of my paycheck because I'm not getting enough to do for what I need. If I can't get what I need, you can't get everything you want. Like that's just, like, basic understanding of sharing. Like, that's what we're talking about here. Like, the golden rules of life are getting destroyed throughout society and our economy, and it's making it impossible for anyone to feel hope and trust that tomorrow's gonna be better than yesterday, so that we can actually start building a future. If you don't have that stability, if you don't have that trust, if you don't have that hope for the future, it's hard to build something. It's hard to like come do the same thing every day and like create something that you know is gonna last, because you don't feel like anything's gonna last. It feels like everything's about to fall apart. And like that's the biggest problem. And when we're going through our history yesterday, every one of these nations that were able to take care of the working class, whether it be Germany, right before their ramp up, they started making conditions easier for the working class. Japan did the same thing. America did the same thing during the New Deal. The New Deal may or may not have worked on like an economic data point monetization level, but it restored the hope. It allowed Americans to want to build and dream of a better tomorrow, so that when the calls of war did come, they felt the responsibility to answer and pick it up and put it on their back and help carry a whole generation, the whole world's generation, out of some serious trouble, out of some demonic stuff. Cities, people burning, industrialization of killing was stopped because the hope was within the working class and the majority of people. That's what society works, and that's what like a golden age is possible.
There's a second way they burden the rest of us. Around 70% of the U.S. economy depends on consumer spending. As wealth concentrates in the richest 10%, the rest of America can't afford to buy enough to keep the economy running.
Because they aren't getting their energy monetized. There's nothing here. They can't get anything out, so they can't put anything back in. They're not getting anything out, so they can't put anything back in. It's that simple. And like, it's the trickle down method. That's why no matter what we do, whatever I dedicate my life to, it's in the effort of taking this trickle down bullcrap that we've been fed and switching it into a grassroots fertilization. Period. It's the only way. We have to take care of the bottom before we're allowed to talk about the top. And if that means people don't want to go to the top, so be it. If you don't want to get up there and the responsibility of being in charge and the responsibility of doing right by those around you and those that follow you, then you shouldn't be up there. So let's stop incentivizing it. The people up top should be craving power. The people up top should be craving a better future for tomorrow, period. Politicians, CEOs, those who are in charge of big budgets, those who are handed responsibility, power, and money need to be more concerned and preoccupied with making tomorrow better for the next generation than they give a crap about their own wealth and power and going to pedo islands.
Buying power is dropping because of stagnant wages and inflation. The bottom 90% is already spending as much as they can, and in many cases going into debt to do so. Meanwhile, as the super rich become even richer, they can't possibly buy enough on their own to keep the economy running. We saw this trend before, during the roaring 1920s, when American wealth was concentrated at the top and everyone else had to go into debt to maintain their standard.
I can't articulate it because I never read as much as them, but dang it if I don't know, man. Come on.
The so-called two-tiered economy isn't just a moral.
What's going on, Joe? What's cracking?
All of us.
Welcome back to Drive By Network.
The motion is adopted.
Right now, we're talking about how our economy's failing and how the working class needs to organize and kick it into gear, and how literally CEOs are not paying enough to keep the economy running. And then later we're diving in and showing the patterns of history and how this has happened before and what bullcrap followed it from the 1930s to the 1940s. That's good to hear, Joe. I'm happy you're doing good. I'm happy you're here. Welcome back to the tribe, man. Welcome back to the tribe. We're also building some software. I'm cutting up some clips while we're watching this, just to keep the content machine alive. So if you hear my voice and it's not me speaking, it's because I'm trying to edit this little video and find the topic. It's my topic. This is what you like talking about. This is what you're about. If this is what you're about, then welcome.
Once and for all, tax cuts for the wealthy make the rest of us worse off, not better. Fight for unions. Raise the minimum wage. Bust up big monopolies with the power to keep prices high. Demand corporations share their profits with workers.
Demand it.
When corporations do
Demand
better,
it.
Workers do too. Build an economy that works for.
And it's crazy because like we think that sounds like such a crazy, like we think like, ooh, sharing, ooh, that sounds like socialism, that sounds like communism, that sounds like whatever the heck you want to like label it in today's world. But that's what a pension was. Like, that was what was different between a pension and a 401k. A pension was a promise that even if you put in enough time here, you will be rewarded with part of your income subsidized for the rest of your life, and where that's coming from is this company's profits. So because you got us so far, because you dedicated so much value of energy that we will never be able to repay and properly monetize this energy that you've given us for over 30 years, 35, 25 years of your life, this energy we'll never really be able to repay because of how much further we're going to take it, how much money, like how you have gotten us from one position to the next, and how we have taken this global reach and made it way more efficient for us to make profits because of like technology and things moving forward. And we know as a human, you will not be able to work the same in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s like you did when you're 20s, 30s, and 40s. So to say thank you and to do right by you and to respect you and give you the dignity you deserve and the things you deserve, we are going to give you a pension, a piece of the profit, and it will subsidize your income for the rest of your life. That's what a pension was. It wasn't money you had to save. It wasn't money in the stocks that could go up and down. You had to take risk on. No, it was a promise to receive a portion of the profits so that you can live the rest of your life with respect and dignity. We just have to find a new way to create that. Like, point blank period. That's why the golden generation, that's why they looked so relaxed. That's why they were on the boat. That's why they were chilling. Like, because they knew they had it made. They worked their factory. They put their time in. They did the dang thing. Now they can kick back and relax. It's going to disappear. Our generation won't feel the same if this is the path that we're willing to go down. We have more debt coming out of college than even, like, you can take the inflation, you can do all that. We have more debt and we owe more quickly than any other generation. And we're receiving less. Financial slavery is the only words I can put to that.
Everyone, not just
Thank
those
you, Joe.
at the top.
Appreciate that.
Because if we don't, we're all cooked.
And you know, the best thing about Robert Reich, we were listening to him earlier, like, he's saying we're all cooked, and like, I appreciate him for like being in our boat, but like, low key, like, you know, he made his, and like, his generation is gonna make it out more unscathed than millennials, Gen X, alphas, and betas. You know what I mean? Like, he's leading by example in terms of, hey, even if this doesn't benefit me and I have to pay more, I deserve to be up top because I'm trying to take on the responsibility of all those that follow me underneath. Those that follow me will be led to better pastures because I'm shepherding them to a better place to be. We're creating society a little bit better by talking about these things, educating these things, and speaking out, even if I get taxed more, even if, you know, the short term hurts me a little bit, the long lasting impact of the human species and my seed and my wisdom and my vibe will extend out. That's what good leaders are. At least good role models. You know, leadership is about achieving the mission, but he's achieving the mission by educating on these facts. These are things that we all need to know because we all need to organize around this. We all need to put, like, again, that's why we're jumping through all the history, because people have been able to like overcome. People have been able to change the outcome of like, you know, they've been led down this way by manipulative forces, and they've been able to sway to the other way and make a change and better the outcome. But the only way it's ever really happened throughout any piece of history is the masses coming together, having a common understanding, and like putting out for that mission. Whether it be civil rights, World War II, I mean, even the fight against slavery. I mean, the reason America was founded was because people were being religiously prosecuted in one land and wanted to come to this one. I'm not saying the Pilgrim, you know, obviously we did terrible things once, like, those religious people got here. Like, terrible things unfolded. I'm not saying that, but that takes masses, that takes people, that takes your neighbors, that takes your community, having faith and trust that everyone's here is on the same accord. We will all do what we have to do so that innocence, the youth, the innocence can be protected, and that we can leave society and civilization better for them so that they can achieve more. If the masses are under that flag and they can see how that can be achieved, there's no bigger force. Because again, what is economy? It's that energy, it's that human consciousness, it's that divine right that we were given as a species to be able to understand and see time and patterns being spent, being pushed out. And if we're all doing it and we're all putting it towards the same cause, it's literally unstoppable. Literally unstoppable. I don't believe it's ever really failed. Maybe slowed down, maybe redirected, maybe like wet blanket on a fire, but stopped. We'd have to have some debates on stopped. Maybe covered up. Maybe great lengths to divide and manipulate. But even these powers that be, this democratic establishment, this radical right, this fascist energy that you can kind of pull a thread through and see throughout history and how it's always kind of been the same, they lose sometimes. They can't stop FDR running for a third term. Democrat and Republican machines wanted to stop him. Couldn't stop him. Why? Because the people were behind him. Because the masses, the working class, the common man wanted to stand behind this leader, and they couldn't stop it. Because they all saw what was right in front of them, and they knew one person that they could believe in and have hope in. And they were going to follow that through, because why? They wanted to make sure society was still left to be given to the next generation.
Okay, but what about shareholder value for the super wealthy? Yeah, this is woke nonsense.
Literally, what I just said. Then coming back into that, right? Literally, my experience, at the water cooler at jobs, saying all that and be like, well, corporate stock market is the reason there's value in our economy and our GDP so high, brother. If you think the GDP and the stock market is gonna survive forever, then like have faith and worship that. But like that's not something to really believe in. If you ask me, that's just man-made BS. That's man-made numbers on a piece of paper.
Woke nonsense. What is this? He probably didn't see the latest capitalist invention. What is this?
Capitalist invention, right? Like inventions can't happen without capitalists.
Value. Got him, chatter. Nice.
This is the story of a little piece of technology.
Oh, dynamic pricing. Yeah, goodbye price tags. Hello, dynamic pricing. Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. You know how like Uber does price surging? And also,
Wendy's tried that.
Boosts
Wendy's tried
prices.
that. Unfortunately, it might be a thing with AI.
Big spender.
But even like dynamic pricing.
Yeah, they have that. They're gonna put that in grocery.
Even if we were well organized and we were doing our thing, so dynamic pricing, that idea, right? The idea that like things can cost more at a certain period of time based off volume, not a terrible thing, to be honest with you, in my opinion. Like, you know, it's a tool. It's a tool, right? But only if it helps the working class more than it helps any one person. What do I mean by that? If you've ever worked in a kitchen, you know there's certain shifts that are gonna stink. Like, they're just not gonna be fun shifts. If there was price surging that went straight to the value of those that were working the shift, then yeah, something like that could make sense. But just to take a knife and plug it into the consumer's wallet during like the time where everybody needs to feed their children, every child needs fed, and they all want chicken nuggets, and we know our drive-through line is going to be longer during this time, and our AI can predict this thing and change things in real time, just to take that knife and put it into the consumer's wallet and fucking twist it. We're just going to twist it and make it bleed to get every last little quarter out of it. Only in a dying capitalist society is that what you get.
Free stores now. I know it's an innovative way to drive up profit margins to the best of your abilities. Awesome. Chinese TikTokers are spitting Hasan.
Americans living in a superior lifestyle compared to Chinese. Dude, stop sending me these stupid messages. I'm 38 years old. If in my 20s, I may believe you. Also, I live in California, Bay Area, 4 years. I see your homeless people. I see your middle class people. Okay, if you are a millionaire, you have good life in United States.
True.
When you want to compete two countries, people living standard, compare rich to rich, middle class to middle class, poor to poor. Your poor people sleeping on the street cannot afford fresh food. In China, the poor people sleep in their own home, able to afford everything basic human needs. All right, electricity, internet, fresh food, just medical bills also, college even. You know, that's how affordable for our Chinese. And middle class, our middle class in China, their living standard probably better than your upper middle class. You never lived in China, dude. You need to wake the hell up.
Yeah, but can he afford Coca-Cola and Netflix? I mean, yeah, you can. But to be
and
fair,
I mean, that's the crazy part, man. That is the
You know
crazy
what I
part.
mean?
Like, you know, I'm not gonna drink all Chinese Kool-Aid in the world. I'm still from Ohio.
Freedom.
But listen,
Reading
man,
this,
like,
Oxfam, 10 US
if you
billionaires
think America's just the best, if you think America's just the best because we're America, we have the biggest military, then you're just a dipshit. I'm sorry. Like, having a big military and being the biggest bully doesn't make you the best. Nobody likes the bully. No one wants to hang out with the bully. The bully's not going anywhere in life. They're going to be soft blocked as much as possible. No one's going to want to go out with the bully, especially with a reputation and being having mood swings and being erratic either way. Bro, no one wants to be with that. There's other countries out here that are global powers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying China can take over. No one wants to take over the world. They just want to be able to live in it and better it. Like, they might want to, you know, everyone's got their little wants and needs, and, you know, China's got its problems. But, like, they're taking care of the domestic front. There was theories that China was out there, like, trying to put people in the same economic traps America did to, like, South America. And it doesn't seem like that's happening. It seems like they're really being earnest in, like, their economic endeavors across the globe. And that's what we should have been doing for the past, like, 30 years. My entire lifetime should have been a lifetime of us taking our prosperity and our profit in this global infrastructure of a military and building world projects that, like, helped all the masses across the globe. Instead, we ushered in an era of terrorism through CIA and military interference. The Afghan dude who committed that terrible act in D.C. here recently said, I wish I rather worked with the Taliban than the CIA. Bro, that should send shivers down all of our spines. Because none of us know better than the man who lived it, who saw both sides, and took actions for both sides. I think in an earnest moment, he said, oh my God, I chose the bigger evil. Could be wrong, but what if I was right? What does that mean about us? How does that make us look? As the people paying taxpayers and the people across the globe think we support this. They know we don't, hopefully, if they're educated and they're on the internet. But then again, I go to work and people tell me that I won't believe a certain fact is true or not true until Donald Trump tells me what to think. Failure of education? Too much chemicals in the Big Mac? I don't know why. But that's crazy. That's crazy. All that's crazy. Our economy's not the best. We might have our stronghold. We might be the reserve currency. But economy is about the energy you put into society and civilization and bringing out monetized value. I don't think any of us could say that that's working right now. I never heard a Chinese man speak like that. Like boil down our economies and compare. And it might be different than out here in Ohio than it is out in California. But it's crazy to think. It really is crazy to think that there is economy so much more efficient than ours. And almost everyone over here is too much in their way emotionally with ego, whatever, to even realize it. Just following this administration and these leaders sitting up here who don't care about us, who don't care about the economy running well, who will watch their own towers crumble if it means their own palaces stand and can add more gold bars to more gold accent to their ballrooms. They'll watch everything else burn. And we're just gonna sit here and act like there's no other options. And this is it. We've tied our ship so hard to this. There's nowhere else to go. We can't right ship. We shouldn't organize. We shouldn't find a new solution. This is what it is. We're just gonna go with the ship. That's wild to me. That's truly wild to me.
Wealth increased sixfold since 2020. No, I know. It's just like capitalism creates this incredible consolidation of wealth, right? And basically the number of winners gets smaller and smaller every year. Okay? The number of people who are winning under capitalism gets smaller and smaller every year because that's just how the system is designed. And eventually it's just going to be like one guy who is the quintrillionaire, and even the other billionaires are
First
like,
they'll
we
go back
don't
to
have
a
enough
king.
money. We're suffering. It's awesome. So look forward to that. It'll probably be Elon fucking Musk. It's getting to a point where, like,
scary.
you know, in America,
Jeff Bezos,
millionaires.
Take your polls, everybody. Next up on don't worry about any of that. Don't worry. On a Sportsbook Live, you get 3 free bets. Bet now on whether it's going to be Elon or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg to be the first quintrillionaire to hold 100% of American wealth and consolidate all major industry into one mega corporation. You can go to Sports Duel now, sponsored by Kevin Hart, to pay attention to that instead of every important thing in society starting to slowly fall apart. And I'm going to say slowly just because it sounds better. Is it slow? 2026, a bunch of health insurance and all that stuff could fall apart. So feels like it's just falling apart. At whatever rate gravity pulls it down.
What remains of like the
it's funny because you have to laugh.
Middle class existence in this country, and the actual middle class, the overwhelming majority of people are relegated to what you would consider to be lower class. Okay, like poorer than middle class. This doesn't mean that like millionaires are not doing great overall. They are.
For sure.
It's just that the way that wealth consolidation has worked makes it so that most of the people that you would consider middle class are now not doing middle class existence. Like they don't have a similar material existence that the middle class had in like the 70s and 80s. It's awesome. Great stuff.
Great
overall.
stuff, baby.
We should just have one person own everything, I think.
Take your bets now, live on Sportsbook. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, the top 10% of wealth in this country is responsible for 50% of consumer spending, and not a single person thinks this is bad. Well, or at least not a single person in power thinks this system is like fundamentally busted. Okay? Jackson Hole and Alpine, Wyoming are great examples. The millionaires complain that the billionaires kicked them out of Jackson, and they have to build their $15 million mansions in Alpine now. Yeah. How about my system where God owns everything and there's one chosen man to control it, all on God's behalf? I mean, that's where we're moving towards.
Hey, I swear I'm not making this stuff up. I swear, I promise these are real conversations, and it might be the same coworker that I have in my mind, but I had a guy straight up because like I've told him I'm like a social democrat. Like I believe that like our concentration of wealth should go to benefit the many, not the few. Like that's my definition. That's on the basic political grounds. You want to know what policies I believe in? It's all centering around using power to shoulder responsibility for the many and not the few. That's like my gist. That's what I'm about. And this guy got an argument to me. He said, "Well, I don't believe we should be a democracy, but I don't think what you're saying makes sense either." I'm like, because he's like, "Well, there's no way to do that." I'm like, false. History would tell you there's ways to make these things happen, and technology nowadays can make it way easier. But he said that we should go back to a monarchy. And he said this straight face, and he was a bullshitter. He was a good troll. But he no shit told me that having a king and installing Trump as president and allowing his youngest son to be the next like king would be a better form of government because it's more efficient and it's the only true way to get anything done. Is that not wild? Is it not wild to live in a country that like went to war against king for freedom and like has this rich history of cultures coming together, figuring out government and policy and like being for the many and not the few, for it to come full circle in 2025 to say we should rather be a monarchy than to try to fix our democratic and current government. So every time I hear about like Trump's numbers and like can't drop below like 35% or 39% in whatever poll is coming out, I do have to remind myself, well, there's people out there that think he should be a king and will only take it as truth if he says it because he was anointed by God. I don't know. I didn't dive into the psychology that hard. But cable news broke people's brains about who Donald Trump is. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's the only thing that could make sense to me. And guys, I'm not trying to be just a Trumper. He's just the guy that's in charge now. We could talk about how Joe Biden sucks if you guys ever wanted to. Establishment Democrats are just as harmful as the Republicans. But it's just, the comparisons and where we're at now with fascism. Trump's the puppet. Trump's the main guy. He's the entertainer. He's the one that's getting the people to buy in and make it happen.
Yeah. What is it? Even the hyper rich are totally broke? I don't know what this means.
Late last month, a report published by Goldman Sachs caused a bit of a firestorm in the personal finance community when it found that 40% of people earning more than $500,000 a year were still living paycheck to paycheck.
I told you, because rich people, it doesn't matter. Like, it's about your budget. And if you take debt and you start the bleeding, you're paycheck to paycheck because you have to keep the machine running. That's why credit sucks, because you have to keep that machine running. You don't get to save and have anything that you actually own. You're just paying a bunch of stuff off. You're trying to keep up with the Joneses. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Even if people have nice things and cars, it does not mean that they have money, because they keep spending it and they keep adding interest rates. Anytime you add an interest rate, you're just making your money more expensive. That's all you're doing. That's all an interest rate does, is it makes your money more expensive. Does that make sense? You have to spend more money because your money costs more. Does that make sense? Because if you have 2% on a thing, now it's not just $10, I gotta give you $12. It's more expensive. My money's more expensive. I gotta pay my money. I gotta pay to use your time. The fact that, I took an IOU, I mean, you might as well just be the mob. Tony Soprano might as well just be running things around here, huh? But it doesn't matter how much money you have, you still cash poor. Very real phenomenon.
Dude,
it's crazy.
This is so busted. It's just, I don't even understand how that's physically possible. I don't understand how that's physically possible. That is.
Well, you should listen to my stream.
It's the
listen to my stream, and you'll know how you're cash poor.
Hey,
it's because you have too much debt. If you have two nice cars, a good mortgage, you're paying for your kids' private school, you have another kid in daycare, and, your wife could even be working out there too. You know what I'm saying? But if you're paying for all this stuff and say all these monthly expenses are coming out to $10,000 a month, because you have to have the Escalade, or people at work are going to talk crap about you because you were supposed to be in this tax bracket, let alone your co-workers are all going out to even nicer restaurants, spending even more money there, let alone now that, this job, maybe you are soul crushed and you have to spend all your time at work, or it gives you free time to spend your money on other stupid things. You feel sports gambling. Maybe you got BetBook on your phone and you think, hey, I got money. I might as well throw away whatever is extra on these bets, on this parlay. Because if I hit, maybe I don't have to work next month and I can take the family on a vacation. But you're burning your paycheck because it's a psychology. You make this much money a year, so you're just going to spend it. And then when something bad happens or you miss a payment, that bleeding starts, and now you're in that cycle where you got to take away from your budget and plug it up. Take away from your budget and plug it up. And that can become soul-crushing really quickly, especially depending on what starts the bleeding. Someone loses a job, something health-related. That bleeding starts and you're already on your margin. You didn't leave some slack. You didn't put 20%, 25% slack in your budget. Everyone can be cash poor. Everyone's burning their paychecks. And the reason everyone's paying their paychecks, just so you know, I don't put it on the individual. Financial literacy, education, these things will help, and we should have that access. But if you're in debt, you're a slave to the wage. If you're in debt, you're a slave to the wage. That's why you get it before you get a job. They put you in debt to the wage before you get your wage. But if you were getting, again, you put that energy into society and civilization and you get your worth back. If you had more of that relationship and you had the time and energy to give what you need to give to those that love you and the responsibilities you have to take on throughout life, then we would have less of that spending on that budget. We would have less of that burning of budget because everyone would be living a better holistic life. And it sounds kumbaya, but it's a psychological thing. The same way we were watching again in the World War II documentaries, the pre-World War II documentaries, when you took care of that working class, your radicalization on the political spectrum calmed down. Everyone could take a minute to breathe and wasn't hopeless and wanting something frantic to happen. When you get frantic, for whatever reason you get frantic, your decision making starts to fall apart. So the more stable and structured we can structure our pillars of our life, the more calm and better decisions we can make so that we can achieve the mission and make society a little bit better. We have to have a stable foundation so that we can go ahead and start building towards that. Each and every one of us, and not just on an individual scale, then our community, it's like Legos. Then you got to plug into your community. Communities plug into the surrounding city or township, which plugs into the greater, then the state, then the nation, then, the global trade. But it all starts with every individual, every piece being nice and foundation. That's why when the Chinese guy was talking, he was saying even our poor live in a house and can go get schooling and do all this and do all that. That's a good stable block. It's what's the point of committing crime and ruin someone else's life if I can just go home and I can still eat some good food and I can still go there's still hope. I can still hope. I can have a full belly, everything can be stable, I can be at peace and shelter, and I can hope and I can see a way out of my circumstance because I know I can get educated and I know I can do more in this healthy economy around me. I know if I can make my energy more efficient and give it in better ways, I can get more value in return. If you have the faith that this is happening, that what you give, you can get back in return, if not a little surplus, then we can build. We can focus on the mission. We care more about leaving things better than we found it. We can be more respectful. We can have better morals. We can build better character. We stop caring about the clout. We start caring about the factual, what's real. Stop caring about the profit. Let's care about the people.
A month on candles, please someone help me budget this. My family is starving. What are you doing? At that point I would say, cut down on the avocado toast, man, unless there's something going on here that I'm not aware of.
And see, he doesn't know the credit cycle. He's
you gotta do quality of life adjustments at that point. If you're making $500,000 a year and you're living paycheck to paycheck,
the ridiculous part.
There's something deeply wrong with your expenditure. IRL backpack,
for sure. If you give me $250,000, $500,000 a year, I don't think I need more. I truly don't. I'm out here in Ohio. You start giving me that on a yearly income, I can buy me a little piece of land. I'll be able to build what I want to build on that piece of land to be content. And then stream, build the studio, build it out, make sure all the profit goes back to everyone that's engaging, build a little better economic system. I don't need a lot. You know what I mean? And you shouldn't need a lot. You know what I mean? You shouldn't. I don't care to. I talk to my family all the time. Like, I don't care about buying a brand new car. Like, I'd rather pay a car out in cash than carry a debt on it because of the exact thing I'm talking about. And, like, I don't think that would ever change. Like, bringing money in builds me a better version of what I'm doing, but I'm still going to be doing what I'm doing. Like, I'm still going to be doing Tribe Vibe Network. I'm still going to be writing this code. I'm still going to be building this content. I'm still going to be trying to get this message out there and find those that want to join the tribe. You know what I mean? And if you are making $500,000 or if you are making a lot, this whole budget cycle that we're talking about, you really got to look at that. And what he's saying is true. Like, you do have to prioritize what you need and what you want, and you got to put some money aside for, like, knowing what you spend. If you like your avocado toast, then we just got to find a way to do it efficiently and effectively. Let's make sure we're getting our punch card so we get a free one a week. That way we pay for 4 instead of 5 every week. You know what I mean? Like, those types of things. But here in Ohio, the healthy economy, $250, $500 should be all you need. Like, that should be a good, healthy income. Especially throughout the Midwest. You know, we get into New York, LA, Denver even. You can talk to me. Miami, international cities. You can talk to me. You know, I get why that would be more. But out in a place in, like, the Midwest of Ohio, $250,000, $500,000, we should be able to build comfortable, foundational, suitable lives that we can be in a state of mind and have the intention and the monetization to put towards making the world a little bit better of a place.
Yeah, this is ironically enough, this was when I was talking about how, like, I live within my own means as far as like way.
That's what he's talking about, living with your means. That's what I'm saying with the budget.
And everybody yelled at me. If you remember, I got soft canceled for that a while back, which I meant, like, for how much money I make, I don't spend that much money. I know it seems like I spend a lot of money, and in comparison to the average person, yes, I do spend a fuck ton of money. Except,
at least he knows
it's totally marginal in comparison to how much money I could be spending.
What was even more shocking is that from the same group of high-income earners,
I don't understand how you can just be paycheck to paycheck at $500,000. It doesn't make any sense.
Less than a third of them reported that they were consistently able to make contributions to long-term financial goals like paying down debt or saving for retirement. Now, I know it might be hard to feel too bad.
I mean, $500,000 too. You gotta think about people who are getting jobs that are paying $500,000. You know, like doctors, lawyers, like things like that. I bet you there's a lot of people that are coming out with like almost $1 million in student debt. So, like, making $500,000, you're still, you're making $500,000 for a year. Your debt is still 3 times the amount of your pre-tax annual salary. That's still not a great position to be in. You know what I mean? Like, I bet you if you dive into what jobs you're talking about there, I bet you there's a lot of that going on. Because, $500,000 pre-tax, what we're talking about post-tax is like $320, something like that.
About the financial struggles of people earning 10 times the median income. And the general response to this report online was, not too sympathetic. But it does reveal a lot about the way our economy has changed since this report was first published just 10 years ago. Now, history is of course filled with endless stories about people who have blown through enormous fortunes, but these have been rare exceptions to the rule. And these stories have mostly come from athletes, celebrities, and lottery winners. People who make a lot of money in a short period of time and then get
Yeah, I think these guys are not like they're not making wise investments in general, but then also beyond that, they probably have a lot of mouths that they're feeding. And
because they're probably one of the only people in their families making money like that. And I'm sure what he's saying, but I bet you the student debt and keeping up with the Joneses has a lot to do with it. And I think the difference between me and him is like the people I grew up with and like what I saw people who like portrayed wealthy, but like you really dig into it, you hear the right conversation, especially around 08, 2010, you kind of hear no one really got wealth. Everyone's got debt and everyone's paying off what they can. Debt is a huge trap. Like an entire generation got caught by it. Like Gen X got caught by the credit trap in one way, shape, or form. Some of them might have built their way out of it, but the credit is a thing that has caught people without doubt for a generation. We're in it still to this day, but I think he's kind of misunderstanding that because I don't think he thinks like that. Like I'm not like that. I have a finance degree, so I've seen stuff like that. But I bet you people keeping up with the Joneses and like maxing out their means or living a little outside their means, thinking they can do it with credit, is more of what's happening than even like charity and like letting people live off you. Unless like the mouths you're feeding are like sending 5 kids into like private school, like that's $50,000 a year in a lot of places.
You noticed the reason why a lot of athletes go broke is not necessarily because they're overspending or they have a lot of mouths to feed in general, but because they rely on their wage for their entire income. And unfortunately, in the United States of America, you cannot act like we call this financial illiteracy, right? But what we actually call financial illiteracy is ironically a byproduct of the wage labor structure not being designed for the wage labor structure that exists is not designed for financial security permanently. So
Facts.
a lot of
Facts. They do not, going back to why pensions don't exist, they do not want us to have that independence, because if we have financial independence, what I say about debt, slave wage, you have less, like, you retire quicker, you don't have to work as fast, so you can like peel out and you're not underneath the means. It's easier to be free thinking, and it's easier to give towards motion and interactions and things that you want to see happen, so you're less dependent on the system at large. It's easier to keep you tied if you're financially dependent and you're traumatized. If those two things are happening, then it's easier for the system to herd the sheep.
Regular ass working class people dunk on these people who make a fuck ton of money, right? Because they go, oh, they're so stupid, they're so financially illiterate, oh, how dumb. Why didn't they actually move into some kind of passive earning, some kind of like capital accumulation structure?
Why didn't they just move like $1 billion hedge fund?
It's not supposed to be that way.
Right.
Someone who's making, someone who's like generated $6 million of income over their lifetime through their wages, because athletes are still wage laborers. Okay, I know they make a lot, they're high earners, but they're still wage laborers nonetheless. Should have a pension structure that allows them to still continue surviving.
100%.
So what we call
100%
financial illiteracy is ironically the concept that these guys are not turning into the capital owning class. It's the darn stupid poor that don't understand the 1%er struggles. No, you're so dumb. You're misunderstanding my point. It's the darn stupid poor that don't realize that the system is designed in a way where you have to become a capital accumulator. My point is,
you have to build a factory.
It shouldn't have to be that way. Not everyone should have to become
100%.
a landlord so that they can have.
It's unsustainable that way.
Oh God. So that we can.
Because what's happening is only like the rules were written by the capital class, the people who have the means and have the ownership over like the valuation. Like again, that energy going in, coming back out, they control that coming out at some point, like by law, whatever, revenue, whatever, ownership, shares, whatever. They own that coming out method, that mechanism that's kicking out the value, that's kicking out the monetization, whether it be through like banks, through payment, revenue, whatever it is. They own this right here, right? They own this right here. So the only way to become wealthy is not by putting your energy in, but it's by owning the extraction and the valuation of that wealth. So if you own this extraction and this wealth, I can be wealthy. Like I am wealthy. Everything's set in place for me not to pay taxes. Everything's set in place for me to continue to own this. I don't have any responsibility to give the people who are putting the energy in any of this value I'm taking out. So I can just put it straight onto my back like a vacuum or like a water spout and just fill it up. Fill it up, baby. That's what trickle down economics is. So of course they're telling you you have to put your money into a 401k. You have to invest in the S&P. You have to invest in blue chips because that gives you a piece of that ownership that's right here. But the thing is, no matter how much you put in, it doesn't matter how much you put in because all you're doing is increasing the worth of the people who already own it. The more we're willing to pay for a single stock, the more this guy who already owns it is worth. So you can never catch him because the more you pay, the more he's worth. That relationship is toxic and it locks people out of ever being able to make generational wealth. That's why when I like that's trickled down, right? So when I talk about data economics and I talk about Tribe Vibe Network trying to do something different with economy, instead of this being where you have to be to own and operate, those that put energy in will forever own that moment in time and that energy. So if that data or that energy goes in to create value, it like spreads out like a tree to raise sunshine. That sunshine and that value that's coming in will always be able to trace itself back to its roots. It might have to dump some money here and there to pay for the trunk and all that, but you'll always be able to get dimes because you put data in. Your time and energy came into the very beginning. So all of that photosynthesis and all that value that comes back will come back into that root and be able to fertilize our economy and our grassroots systems.
Can have any sort of like a nest egg, right? Any sort of retirement fund. Dog, someone who makes $6 million is not a 1%er? No, I'm saying $6 million in lifetime earnings. You constantly critique the extraction of surplus value, yet you retain 100% equity in your brand, even if you pay it as well. You are still a private owner, dictating the distribution of profit rather than a co-op. How are you not just a benevolent capitalist perpetuating the exact labor structure you critique? It's because I am a capitalist, and also I am doing that. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite socialist. Have you not realized this already? Although I do have a co-op, but it doesn't matter. That's besides the point. Okay, you got it. You got it. I am a benevolent capitalist. Not even a benevolent capitalist. I'm actually a bad capitalist. I'm the worst kind. The point is that the entire structure that is designed in the United States of America is that you are supposed to wait. What the weekly Hasanabe heads meetup in Chengdu over 3 years? Wait, really? And they're grilling meats? Whoa. Wait, is this for real? How come I wasn't invited? Things we do include prepare Szechuan chicken noodles for 100 people on the street in under 20 minutes every week and share with the local workers just for the challenge for more than 3 years. Hiking, biking, football, soccer, open mic, camping and grilling, techie stuff, competitive FPV, drone flying, assembling, radio comms, math programming, food cooking, food eating, food sharing, any other grassroots mobilizing and organizing activities to build up a sense of community. As a prelude to the main topic, news, politics, and actions, we thank Hasan for fostering a sense of unity in his China Maxing series. Now we want to do our fair part as Chengdu audience to welcome our comrades to check out our weekly meetups in Chengdu. DM me for location. We have friends everywhere. Our new Bilibili channel. What the hell? How am I not invited to the Chinese cookout amongst the Chinese fans? How is that possible? Now I gotta go back. Now I gotta go back. Now I gotta go back. It's crazy. You did an RSVP? Okay.
Okay. We're done with that for a little while. Turning on to 9:30 here. Let's get to the meat and potatoes here in a minute.